So we are here with Greg Dobbs. Well, I'd say we are here with Greg Dobbs. Greg is, I believe, on the West Coast, on the sunny side, while we're on the rainy, cold side. So 2008 World Series champion. Does it ever get tired when people say that to you?
No, I'm going to be honest, it doesn't, and it still kind of makes me go, "Wow, we really did that," you know. But no, it doesn't. No, I wish I heard it more. I mean, being out here in California, I've relegated myself to almost complete and total anonymity. So hardly anybody knows out here
See,
who I
and,
am.
and and that's the reason, like we were talking before we went on air about like what you miss about Philly. What you should be saying about missing Philly is that if you come back here, you don't have to pay for drinks.
And I'd be a raging alcoholic. And my liver would hate me.
Okay, well, dinner then.
It's fine. Yes. No, but in all honesty, joking aside, we we miss Philly. We miss Philly a lot. We miss the people. We miss the town. We miss the culture. Everything about it. So to all the Philly faithful out there, love you all. Miss you. Hope we'll be back there soon to see you guys and share a pint together and reminisce about the old days.
Well, and so let's, the old days are all we kind of have right now to go off of, along with some minor league baseball as baseball figures this out. And so, as a former player, how do you watch a lockout? Are you a fan now? Are you a player? What's the Greg Dobbs take of watching a lockout actually occur?
Uh, Pretty incredible, fairly surreal. Having been through a few CBAs myself, having been a team rep with the union, and having the great fortune to come up in the era of Donald Fear and then Michael Weiner, and then into the Tony Clark era. Really fascinating, but also as you become aware and you become sort of an active participant, you begin to quickly understand how complex it is. And listen, I'm not saying that it's as complex as the ceasefire and peace treaty that the Ukrainians are trying to negotiate with Russia. Like that's okay. That's real. But nonetheless, it is. As a fan, it pains me because it's tough. You guys want to go to work. Owners, GMs, they want their doors open. They want their guys in spring training, right? They don't want to miss games. They don't want to miss revenue. Fans, they want some of the most exciting times are going to spring training, whether you're in Florida or Arizona, and going to watch your favorite players, your favorite team, and the interaction, the intimacy that is spring training, right? The excitement, the fervor that begins to just boil. And then opening day, like I'm literally getting goosebumps, you flyovers and the ceremony and just all the anticipation, the build for the hopes of what could be an incredible championship season, right? Tough from the fan perspective, and my heart goes out to the Philly faithful and all the fans out there. Tough to watch this happen and go through this. But from a player's perspective, now if I put my player's hat on, it always behooves the players, and it is incumbent upon the current class, of which I used to be a part of, to honor and respect and do everything within our ability at the negotiation table against Major League Baseball and the owners, to stand up for what previous generations went through, for the previous players, previous collective bargaining agreements, and to pass that torch forward, right? And for it to be meaningful, and for progress to be made, where we, just as the owners are trying to do, we're trying to protect the sanctity of being a Major League Baseball player, right? And fighting for what we believe in and the rights that we that we hold dear and that we want to pass on to the next generation, and leave the game from a player's perspective, again, leave the game in a better place for that next generation, which I feel, and which I know the players feel, ultimately leaves the entire game in a better place, and it makes it better for the fans. It makes it better for everybody. So sorry, short story long. That's my take.
No, but see, here's the important part of what you're talking about to me, which is you as a player rep. So you got to see the inner workings of how this works and what the goals are. And you're not just representing the present. You're not representing yourselves. And this is, to me, the push and pull of it is you want to make sure that you're getting the most money for the players now, but you're also negotiating not just for the future, but the future that doesn't have representation. Minor league baseball players don't have the protections that you guys have in the major leagues. If things shut down, now supposedly they're still going to go on with minor league baseball if there's no major league baseball, but they don't have those protections. They don't have a union that is standing behind them. So you have to make that decision about not only which one is more important, protecting yourself now and making sure that today's players in the major leagues get whatever it is that they want, but also at the same time decide how much you're going to sacrifice that present for the future for the people that aren't even here now and may never make it. And as a player rep, how do you handle that balance?
Amen. That was very eloquently stated.
You could flip that and license it if you'd like. You can.
Has he copyrighted that yet?
Well, he's a trademark and copyright attorney, so he will after we're done with you. Don't worry. But you can use it if you want. Share it with the league. Go for it.
I shouldn't have said anything. I should have pumped him up there because now it's gone. No, it is a fine line. It heavy lies the crown when you have to sit and ponder and dissect these issues and look at them through a lens of, okay, where are we presently? And are we being, for the lack of a better term, maybe selfish, or will our wants and our requirements in this negotiation come off as selfish, or are we being as thoughtful as we possibly can for these future generations to come, and doing everything that we can to not only, it's double barreled, right? It's what can we do now in the immediate future? What is a low hanging fruit right now where we can improve the game holistically, improve it for us as players? And listen, to have the owners improve their side a little bit, and in all great negotiations, both sides walk away having conceded something or multiple things, right? Or else it's just not a great negotiation. That's just negotiating 101. That said, it's a fine line as to how much you hunker down for the immediate future, and what makes sense. What can we succeed now? And also being forward looking, what can we succeed at to leave the game in a better spot for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 generations of players? It's a tightrope. It's a tight walk, because, owners and Manfred and everybody are going to be sitting across that other side going, yeah, great. That's fine. But we're the owners, and it's, the billionaires versus millionaires, right? You've probably heard, if you've heard it once, you've heard it 1,000 times. It's tough. I just, as in the ones that passed, the collective bargainings that passed, and this one is no different. I'm praying that we don't concede too much, because the fear is, if you do, that becomes a precedent moving forward, right? And it leaves the next CBA, the next generation of players, or those following, it leaves that mountain maybe a little bit steeper, and maybe a little bit more unsurmountable, right? Because now you feel like you're just a little bit further back behind the 8 ball than maybe you could have been. Yeah.
Well, we'll see where they end up with on the money conversations. That's actually one piece of it, but there's the state of the game, the pace of play side of this. And it seems like We've got some rule changes coming. Jeff will love when they get rid of the shift. He will be a very happy man. We will potentially see a universal DH. Pace of play is clearly an issue. Pitch clock, shorter pitch clocks, 14 seconds, 19 seconds. The one that I don't understand that you can explain to me is how does making the bases larger speed up the pace of the play? Because I actually looked into this, and their explanation is there is a shorter distance to run between the two bases because the bases are larger, which I call BS on. But go for it and tell me how these rule changes will impact us all.
And how many more stolen bases you would have had with these bases?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what everybody's pining to know, right? Yeah, Dauber, you were such a burner, man. You could have been like a 30-30
You
guy.
were so close. You could have led the league if you just had that little extra spot on the bases.
What do you think, though?
Said no one ever.
What do you think, though, about all of these changes that some fans have clamored for, others have, brooded against? Some people think getting rid of the DH or bringing the DH to the National League is sacrilegious. Seems like they're
I'm with you. I'm with you. Okay. From experience, having started my career in Seattle in the American League, not being a guy that hit 25 to 35 homers, right? In the American League, you got to bang. That is a banger. And if you're a DH, you got to, you got to bang. You got to hit. You got to hit for power. Coming over to the National League, saving grace for my career. I've said it once. I'll say it to the day I die. I just think the National League, the game is just a more pure, beautiful chess match where managers, bench coaches, you got to strategize and to make the whole league the American League, in essence. I probably don't have a career as long as I'd had, right? So it's personal to me a little bit. I mean, it's not about me anymore. I mean, I'm an ex-has-been, but if I'm gonna look at these changes, specifically this one, through the lens of my own experience, which I think that's the best way to look at things. I don't agree with it. Just like all the pitching changes that were instituted a few years back, right, with relievers and the full inning that has to be thrown, and all of a sudden now the matchups can't really be done. And okay, for the sake of time, because you want to speed the game up, okay, fine, but that's the beauty of the game, and I think true fans appreciated that beauty, and I feel like some of it's being stripped away. I feel it's just slowly being stripped away for the sake of pace of play. Like, really, are people that ADD that
yes.
they don't have the attention spans?
That's the problem. We're all, even Jason is getting to the point of being old. Like we're getting to the point. Like, so is baseball going to kowtow to the generation that it has no attention for this, that needs something faster, that needs home runs, that doesn't want the decisions that are being made? They don't want to think, they want to go and be entertained. But at the end of the day, what always surprises me is this whole pace of play thing. Only the most you're going to do is shave off 10 minutes. Unless you shorten the number of innings, does this really change baseball to do all the things that they keep suggesting doing at the cost of what you're talking about, which is what made baseball baseball?
No, I don't think it does. I think it is so on the margins, but I can see why they're doing it. I can see why Major League Baseball and Manfred, the commissioner's office, are doing it and pushing these things. Is just, it's optics. So much of this is optics, and I get it. They're trying to cater to a new, younger generation that all they are about is their social media feeds. Their attention spans are about as long as that of a gnat. Fine, but what I might say, and what I would venture to say, is that these small, it's almost like death by 1,000 little razor blade cuts, right? It's all these little things, right? And it's quite subtle. I was listening to an incredible professor in Toronto named Jordan Peterson. He's on social media. He is an amazing mind, and he was saying something about negotiating, or he was talking about going through how to negotiate, and how the most successful ones in history have, whether they're dictators or not, they go as far as they can. They encroach just as much to make you uncomfortable, and then they back off. But then that becomes the new goal line, right? Or that
Right.
becomes and then they back off, and then they go quiet, and then all of a sudden it starts bubbling
next time.
and then they go a little bit further the next time, and you really don't even notice it because it seems just so fringe and so on the margins. But no, they just push just a little bit more, and then all of a sudden 10, 15 years down the road, you look back and you're like, oh my God, how did we get here? Because it was slow, it was small, it was, at the time it seems maybe trivial, but it isn't in the long run of things. And so with all these initiatives, I understand the thinking behind them. But I don't necessarily agree with them. I am a traditionalist. Listen, if you don't want to spend 3.5 hours at a baseball game, going to a stadium, going to, Citizen Bank Park, and, going out and enjoying some of the food out in the outfield, getting some Bulls barbecue, like, well then, okay, fine. Maybe baseball isn't for you, but I think there still is enough. There are enough Americans out there, and internationally as well, who will be more than willing to pay their hard-earned money to sit in the stands with their family, with their son, with their daughter, and carve out the time to enjoy a baseball game. And with the bases, I don't know. That literally, my mind blew up. Like, I literally was like, I saw that on the list, and I went, I'm sorry, what? How?
I'm
Wait.
so glad that you had the same reaction as me, because I texted Jeff immediately, and then I found the picture size, and I was like, "What?"
I'm still confused. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I'll be the first to admit, but that confuses me. I don't. Bases bigger. Okay, which then, okay.
Well, if they're really bigger,
Well, that's the thing. If you're going with like Krusty the
if they're
Clown
like, if
shoes,
it's like
huge
halfway to
bases,
second base, that might be better.
yeah.
I just, so but again, this is so on the margins, right? Okay, so we're gonna make, what are they gonna make them just an inch bigger around in diameter? Oh, it's not much, but it opens the door to them. You know what? Wow, we think that really worked. Let's go another ½ inch. So now it's no longer 60, it's no longer 90 feet down the baseline. That fundamentally changes the game, because as we all well know, there are plays that are bang bang, that are milliseconds, and milliseconds can determine safe or out, a win or a loss. All of a sudden now we're altering that. We're altering kind of the clock and the speed that the game gets played at, and that things have to be executed at. I don't know. I'm not so sure about that.
So as somebody who was a union rep, and you're sitting in, was there ever anything that you guys were sitting around and said, there's one thing that really could change the game, that could improve the game? Is there anything that as players, when you were playing, said, this is the one thing that could make baseball better?
You mean from a
Anything.
because
Because I'm not concerned about pace of play, because I actually like sitting
Go sit
outside
there.
with my kid or my friends and just watching baseball and talking.
Yeah, Jeff actually dislikes the people like me who don't have the attention span to sit still. Now, I will go and sit and watch a game, but it is the person who's like me, who flips the channel all the time, that it seems like baseball's trying to cater to.
And again, like, to each their own, right? And then that's why, there's 31 flavors of ice cream. Yes, when I was, a lot of the issues that are being discussed now were also issues back then, where if we're looking to improve the game, for instance, pre-arbitration, right? Shortening that curve for players, with team control, arbitration, ultimately getting to free agency. The pre-arb pool, had been floated around for a little bit prior to it now truly being on the docket. And I think that's I think it's meaningful. making sure that minimum salaries, stay with or keep close to the rate of inflation, right? And the erosion of the power of the US dollar, especially right now. I think that's very I think it's very important right now, especially as we're in a large inflationary environment.
Look at that. His second career is now coming out.
So those don't let me get ahead of myself. Stop, keep me focused. Wait, keep me focused. Those things were things that we were discussing back then as well, that didn't quite make it to the docket because there were other things there was lower hanging fruit. Those types of issues. I have like you, I have no problem with pace of play. I don't. I love it. It's the game. It's the way the game was meant to be played, but yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the financials, and on the financial side, and I think the business of baseball, right? And so those issues then were important, and they are just as important today, and hopefully they can make some headway on them.
Do you think that if the players got to arbitration sooner, became free agents sooner, do you think that we would have a more competitive balance in the major leagues than we have now?
I do. I think so. Again, though, that you can't force a team like Kansas City, you can't force a team like Miami to pay more than $50 some odd million in payroll. You know what I mean? Like, but that said, maybe it does incentivize. And let's just take Miami, for instance. You look at a team like Jeter walking away. He wanted to be competitive. Ownership was like, yeah, no, we don't really think we can. We're trying to really lean this thing out. Does the ability for players to get to free agency sooner? And I'm not talking about the top two. I'm not talking about the Bryce Harpers. Okay. I'm not talking about the Giancarlo Stantons, the Mike Judges, the Mike Trouts. No. They're the outliers. They're the unicorns, right? They're going to command 300, 400, 500 million dollars in the near future. I'm talking about maybe the guys like me, guys like Greg Dobbs, who becomes a free agent, who is that 20th to 25th guy. Maybe having someone like me going to free agency sooner at a younger age, where age isn't such a detriment, as we all, as baseball and every professional sport knows, right? The older a player gets, the less the further they are from their prime, and they're really good, healthy, productive years. Maybe that does actually incentivize a lower market, lower spending team to say, okay, well, maybe we don't have such a problem with looking at the available pool of talent. Maybe we don't have so much of a problem of paying X for a player who is closer to their prime than closer to the start of diminishing returns. Maybe.
All right. We got a minute left on the live part of the show, and then we'll keep it going after this on the stream so you can talk more. But we got to ask you about some of your former teammates who had some Hall of Fame considerations. I'm not going to ask you whether they're Hall of Famers because you're the former player. As Jeff said, if you don't say that they are, they're probably going to call you.
Yeah, he was asking me before this. He's like, should we get his comments on Ryan and Chase and Jimmy? And I'm like, what do you think he's going to say? They shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame?
And this is why I have a co-host, so I don't ask questions like that. But of course, I bring it on the air anyway. Tell us
now, if you're willing to say that, feel free. But I was trying to save you.
I love it.
In a minute, tell us the best Hall of Fame story on their skills as a teammate. Not if they're a Hall of Famer.
Good or funny
on their skills.
Yeah, for each of the three of them.
Well, okay. I'll start with Jimmy. Besides Jeter in his prime, I don't think I ever saw and played beside and watched a better shortstop. His 2007 season was just ridiculous. He's such a talent. Multi-tooled, just the little guy, I call him little fella, you could walk away, what's up, little fella,
how'd that go over?
Perfectly fine. It's all right. I still, we play golf, and I'm like, "What's up, little fella?" And he's like,
Jason, you
"Dog,
hear
what's up?"
that?
There's hope for me. So,
No, what an incredibly gifted and bright athlete and shortstop. So yes, Chase. I, what more can you say? I mean, if the numbers aside, the work ethic, the determination, the focus, the teammate, the sort of silent clubhouse leader. You know, a lot of these are intangibles, right? That aren't going to make their way, you know, and be part of the, you know, the discussion on the ballot. But I've never seen a guy work harder and set the bar so high for himself and for his teammates, which is a very large reason as to why we were successful all those years. And Howie, I mean, if God bless, if Howie could have stayed healthy, you know, the Achilles, I see it right now. Like, and I went through an Achilles injury. I tore my Achilles in 2003, coming up through Seattle in AA. So I know firsthand. Just prodigious. Literally, it was prodigious. His power, his ability to go to all fields. And on crunch time, man, he just seemed to come freaking through, whether it was a double in the gap or working a walk. Hey, people don't remember, he had a very good eye.
Mhm.
He did. Like all of us, he got into trying to expand the zone and do too much because he knew how much power he had. Everybody did, right? But when he was locked, his strike zone awareness was second to none.
What was it? So as a fan, as somebody that was at all those games, I never saw anybody get up to go to the concessions when Ryan Howard was listed as one of the top 3 hitters coming up in the next inning. What was it
No.
like as a teammate? Did everybody just kind of stop? Like during those 5-6 years where he was hitting 50, 60 home runs,
Oh, yeah.
what was it like?
Oh no, you're absolutely right. Like Jason Worth and I and Jeff Jenkins, we would like, boys, let's just sit down here. Let's take this in. Something special is probably going to happen. Okay, we're not going to go back in the clubhouse and go stretch, or, you know, go get a Diet Coke or whatever, get a bag of seeds. No, let's watch this. This could get good. That he had that effect. He literally had that effect, and you could see it on the other side. You could see the opponents. All of a sudden, Howie comes up, runners on, runners not on. Didn't really matter. And all of a sudden, the other side of the bench, a couple more guys are sitting on that top step. Pitchers going, oh man, how's he going to get him out? He's probably going to hit a mammoth homer right now. I want to watch it. I don't want to miss it. It was palpable. Absolutely. As much as it was for the fans, it was equal for us. It was amazing to watch.
My ADD flipping of channels always made sure I was back when Ryan Howard was up. We're going to leave the live show conversation there. And thank you so much for coming on, Greg. The insight on the labor issue, as we hope they resolve it, and then on your teammates is always fascinating. Thanks so much for your time, man.
I'd love being with you guys. You have me back whenever you want. It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you, guys.
We definitely will. All right, for our listeners out there who are still following us on the video. All right, so I'm going to pick up right there.
Greg, do you have a couple? Just make sure we just want to make sure. Do you have additional time?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
That's, I used to tell Jeff, he was can't miss TV. He would come up and you had to turn the channel. So it's amazing that the players, like, you could see that. And so that's funny. Could you feel the stands, like the people, everybody kind of like pay attention, sit up a little more. He's up.
Absolutely. And that was those years in Philly. And it's very Ryan for a longer period of time. I would equate it to Jimmy's 2007 season, which then boiled into his 2008 season and further. But if you're just going to look at a snapshot of time, Jimmy's 2007 season, and Howie was Howie. Don't get me wrong, right? But we had Jimmy and Howie both going off at the same time. Us in the dugout, opponents, the stadium, that 2007 season, everybody stopped when Jimmy came up too, leading off. Like, what is he gonna do? Is he gonna lead off with another homer? Right? I mean, it's freaking, modern day Brady Anderson. Is he gonna reel off 50 something leadoff homers? Like, are you kidding? Howie did that over kind of multiple years. Like and not that Jimmy didn't, but just in a different way. I mean, he was such a presence. I mean, he's a large human first and foremost, right? I mean, he's a big, strong dude. So just the physical presence alone. But then, and the I remember always the amount of confidence he had going up to the plate. And I think that permeated through not only the stands, into the TV, from fans watching across the country, into the other dugout. Like when he walked up, he did that little bat flip and he tapped his toes and then came in, did his whole thing and tapped the plate. Like, I see it in my mind still. And
he also held the bat forward. Like, he almost did like that half Babe Ruth thing. And it was like, hey, by the way, that ball's going that way.
Right. Like, hey, don't come in here. This is my house. Mm-hmm. Don't come in here because you're gonna get hurt. And I just remember him hitting. I remember a one home run against Atlanta in Citizens Bank that went upper tank, and I'm sitting next to Thompson, and I can't remember who's on my left. It might have been J-Dub, and he hit it, and we all just grab each other and are just like squeezing each other's jerseys, and we're like going, oh, and we're yelling, obviously, right? But we were like excited, like we were little children. Like he had the ability to not only have that impact on us as his teammates, but on our fan base, on the city, on opponents. Like, that's an incredible thing. And no stat, there's no stat out there that quantifies that.
The way you just described it reminds me of when you're watching a basketball game and somebody does that crazy dunk and everybody goes, all his teammates go crazy on the sidelines. And
that's exactly what it is.
You don't think of baseball like that. And that's the shame of it. It's like, Jason's the marketing guy. And I just sit there and I go, baseball just doesn't know how to market itself and market its players.
Baseball has some of the best personalities that nobody knows about.
I agree. And I think, if we're really going to move this is a fascinating conversation and topic, is if I am in Major League Baseball in the commissioner's side, I'm absolutely looking at that to be like, okay, listen, do we really have a pace of play problem? Do we need a pitch clock, like a shot clock in the NBA? Like, no, let's excite our fans. Let's make them aware and give them insight into like who these guys really are, whether they come from Japan, whether they come from Latin America, or Australia, Timbuktu, wherever it may be. Like, let's put these guys in a different light. Let's excite the fans and the fan base and create that intimacy, right? Which is only good.
Nobody cared how long Ryan Howard's at bats were when he was slamming the ball out of the ballpark. Like, if they want to shorten the game, they should tell Bryce Harper not to step out between every pitch and fix his batting gloves. That will shorten the game. But nobody complains about it because you're ready for that monster Bryce Harper home run. So if he wants to fix his batting gloves, let him fix his damn gloves. Like, it's funny what people choose to complain about with the game.
I agree. And all that is building anticipation, right? Like it's that, it's that build of excitement, like, and it's that little calm before you think the storm is actually going to hit, and that you can't wait. And every second feels like it's a minute, and you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen here?
The game that you guys were involved in, the Brett Myers at bat, 12 pitch.
It's amazing.
I mean, and like, if you're looking at it as a purist of the game, it's wonderful. If you're looking at it from the outside of analytics, it took a really long time for a pitcher to get on base. And so I think that's like the flaw in the conversation is it's what happens in that pace of play as much as how long that pace of play is.
I agree. And I fear, and we've discussed this before on air, I still fear, and I have a growing fear, that the analytics are going too far and it's diluting the true nature and feel and experience of baseball, right? There's law of diminishing returns. And if we're just going to look at this and do everything StatCast and blah, 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 and we're going to try to quantify everything, you're diluting it. You're taking the emotion, you're taking the personality, the character of the game. You're literally beating it out of the game, because now you're going to make everybody focused on how much time did he take. No, you know, I don't know. I don't agree with it.
Are you also diluting the talent too? I mean, so you've seen with the Phillies in the last few years, there's a pushback against analytics. You know, the Phillies brought in this whole team of people that analyze things to death, and one of the victims, for lack of a better phrase, of this analytics era seemed to be somebody like Scott Kingery. Scott Kingery had a certain set of tools that just looked like they were going to be great up here, and they tried to make him a home run hitter. Everything had to be about the plane of his swing. The thing I least like about baseball is the phrase launch angle.
I can't stand launch angle. That's
not true. You dislike the shift more than you dislike launch angle.
That's true, but I was trying to leave that out of my head. Thank you very much.
Thank you for injecting it back in.
Right, exactly.
Thank you for not letting him forget.
There.
No, I agree, and it becomes paralysis by analysis, right? And you look at, listen, that would have been like me trying to make me a home run hitter. Like, no, that's not what I did. That's not who I am. Rule number one in life, in baseball, in relationships, I don't care what it is, in business. Rule number one, know thyself. Know thyself, right? You are who you are. Your DNA is your DNA. It will never change. Okay. So know thyself. Two, play to your strengths. Always play to your strengths. But understand and know what your strengths are. And if anybody tries to deter you and take you down a path to say, no, yeah, you think your strengths are this, but it's actually really this, run head for the hills, get out of Dodge. Okay. Because they're trying to make you something you aren't, and they aren't truly appreciating who you are as an individual, as an athlete, as a person, as a husband, as a father, as a teammate, all of that. And that's a travesty. That is an absolute travesty. Now, I will say, in the same breath, thank God that the organization, Milton and Company, came to their senses to be like, yeah, we gave it a try. My heart goes out to those that are willing to take risks. It takes balls to take risks. It does. It does, because it could go one or two ways, right? It can either work out or it doesn't. You're the hero or the goat. That's the risk. That's the risk in sport. It's the risk in life. The reason why we have the best country in the world, right, is because generations before us took risks. Okay, didn't happen just by coincidence. Same with the analytics, and it's just, if launch angle, don't even get me started. It's just know thyself. If you are a gap to gap hitter with occasional power, be the best gap to gap hitter with occasional power that you can possibly be. That's it, and you will have a spot in the game, because you are still an asset. And I can't stand seeing guys who are extremely talented, like a Kingery. I'm sorry, we're picking on you, Scotty, but like, I hate seeing guys like that. I hate seeing that happen to guys like that, because that guy's a stud, dude. He's a freaking athlete.
Yeah. So look, we would love to have you for 5 hours if we could, but we do understand that you have to go make money, and money for other people, by the way. But I could
preserve.
exactly.
Yes. In this environment, it's all about preservation.
I enjoyed your inflation plug, by the way, in the one answer you gave. That was well done. But I'll let you ask the last one.
But before we do let you go, the Coaches versus Cancer is going on in Philadelphia and around the country, and the person that in Philadelphia they're honoring is Dan Baker, and so, you know, as somebody who had the honor of walking up to the plate time and time again and having that voice, Dan Baker's voice, call your name, what do you think of when you think of Dan Baker calling out your name as you're walking to the plate in Citizens Bank Park?
Well, I mean, you didn't warn me that you're going to try to make me cry. That's not fair. Wow. From the moment I stepped foot and became a Philadelphia Philly, I will distinctly remember my very first game in Citizens Bank Park, and there's Dan Baker on the field, being MC, and I was floored. I was like, this is incredible. Like, why don't all teams do this? This is absolute, and damn, he's good. Whew. Oh, the voice, the way he would lean on and accentuate certain syllables, like and then to get to know him personally as part of the Philly family, what a magnanimous, generous, thoughtful, impeccable human being is Mr. Baker. It was amazing. It literally was. And all the reunions, seeing him and being able to just sit and talk with him, who he showed and what who he shows on the field, like who he was on, that's really who he is. That's him in his essence. And it was an absolute honor and privilege to have him say my name and announce me. I before I start breaking down in tears, that's all I got.
We'll leave it there. We never had that honor to have him do it on the field, but he recorded a bumper for us saying, "You're listening to the Heart of Sports with us." And I smile every time I hear it when we're coming back from the commercial. And it's like him saying, "You're listening to us." And it's like, wow, he's saying my name. That's really cool.
Oh man. It's dear friend Jason Gore played on tour for a while, is now with the USGA back in Jersey. And he has Jim Nance is his voicemail, and it is so smooth. And so I'll just call him hoping that he doesn't pick up, so I can just hear Jim Nance, say, hello friend, you've reached the voicemail of Jason Gore, head of you. It's just like, so
I would want to leave voicemails for people if I knew that they had people like that on their voicemail message.
It's so cool. It's so amazing. No, it's
Greg, we can't thank you enough, man. This is a blast.
I love you guys. You guys are the best. I always look forward to speaking with you guys. No, I've enjoyed it very, very much, as always.